On today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, Bob Iger calls Bob Chapek's reign as CEO of Disney disappointing, and he goes a little bit more into that. Also, could Disney be looking at just taking out Avengers Kang Dynasty and simply making Secret Wars Part 1 and Part 2? Also, it's award season, so the first significant awards are coming out, and it looks like Killers of the Flower Moon is going to take first blood with the first Best Picture award. And Zac Snyder defends Amber Heard, saying he would work with her again in a second. That and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming to you from right here in our quaint little studio, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good stuff. Not just giving you our opinions, but giving you some information and context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or even different than ours. Joining me in studio today is Ray Ora.
Game day!
Jonathan Voico.
What up?
Chris Carr is here.
Hey, guys.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thanks so much for making this show part of your day, and here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by going over those topics that I listed off. Then in the last part of the show, we're going to take your comments and questions. If you guys are watching live right now, you guys can submit a topic, comment, or question using the super chat feature in the live chat. And also a little bit earlier, we asked our beloved YouTube channel members to submit some topics, and we'll get through just as many of those as we can. Also, just like Ray said, it's game day.
It's game day, baby.
Godzilla -1.
Oh, yay!
Yes.
Yep, we're going to go see that, today at 5 o'clock?
Let's get a quick score update right here.
Okay,
It dropped.
Oh, no.
No.
Not at 100%
How many votes
anymore.
what's the score?
42 reviews, 98%.
That's pretty good.
We got to go
That's
find those
great.
20 people. Somewhere in there, a couple people said no.
Well, I think it's probably with only 42 reviews. I think all it takes is one negative to make it 98.
We got to weed
We
them
gotta go
out.
find that
It's
negative
you,
Nancy.
Adam does movies.
You know what? Doesn't like fun.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't like the movie either.
It's
But I'm going to find out at 5 o'clock today.
Yep.
All right, guys. Just quick update. You guys know that we are doing our annual Adopt a Family. We've told you all about this really well-deserving family this year, and we've given you a link to our Amazon wish list, which you can still see down below. As of 5 minutes ago, out of the 30 Visa cards we've asked for and 100 Amazon gift cards we asked for and about 120 other items, there's only one thing left. Literally, as of about 5 minutes ago, there was only one thing left. We asked for 3 tablets, and 2 of them have already been bought. There's one thing left. So if you want to be the last person to get the one last thing on the Amazon wish list, go ahead and click on that Amazon wish list link that's right near the top of the description of this video. Okay, guys, with all that down, let's dive into it and start with this, shall we? Bob Iger is, what did the kiddies say? Casting shade? Throwing shade
Yeah.
at Bob Chapek. Basically
The
saying,
oldest thing you've ever said.
He said no cat. No chat.
Ye casteth thine shade at
Those youths
me.
and their
the
shade.
youths, the kiddies.
Throwing-
Hello, fellow kiddies.
Asking you to get under umbrellas or something. I don't know what they're doing. Those little shits.
Bob Iger is not talking very promisingly about his hand-picked successor, Bob Chapek. Of course, Bob Chapek, you guys remember, a little over 3 years ago, took over as CEO for Disney and all of a sudden started doing a lot of shady shit that Bob Iger never wanted him to do. And, put the company on a course for being run into the ground, the effects of which we're still feeling and will still continue to feel, probably for at least the next year or so. Anyway, well, speaking at a conference, Bob Iger was directly asked about how he looks back at, Chapek's running the company. And he said this. This comes to us from Fox Business, who writes this. I was disappointed in what I was seeing, said Bob Iger, both during the transition period when I was still there as chairman of the board and while I was out. But I really worked hard at distancing myself from it because I couldn't do anything about it. In a way, it wasn't my business at all, really. It was his business to run, he said during the interview. Again, I was not happy with what I was seeing. Well, obviously not. I worked hard to build the company into what it was over that period, a long period of time. I was proud of those accomplishments. It hurts when something that you've put in your heart and soul into and you care about so much is going through difficult times. Anyway, it goes back on to talk about it. He's gone through, he's been trying to fix a lot of problems. Disney stock is up 6.5% since he took back over. All this kind of stuff. Now, what cannot be lost in all of this, and I'm sure part of the reason why it's particularly hurtful for Bob Iger, is the fact that the one thing you can't get away from was Bob Chapek was his pick. He picked Bob Chapek. He was his choice to succeed him as CEO.
He was the chosen one.
Yeah.
You were the chosen one. Yeah. It was his call. And then to sit back and like, you got to imagine all the probably days and evenings that he spent talking with Chapek about like, I'm thinking about giving you this job. What are you going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden Bob Chapek comes in and does exactly the opposite of a lot of things he probably told Bob Iger he was going to do. He tore away the foundational power structure of Disney, took all the power away from the creative people, instilled new layers of middle management to be overseen and governed by his banker friends. He took the decision-making power away from guys like Kevin Feige and other studio heads about what content they're allowed to make and then where that content's going to go. And then they could be told what content you need to make. We need more Disney Plus stuff. And as we read in that press release that the new Bob Chapek-led Disney put out when Bob Chapek took over, they said, yeah, we're doubling down on Disney Plus. Like Bob Iger started Disney Plus, had a vision for it, but we think everything should be Disney Plus, and we're going to double down on that and go crazy. And it's caused a lot of problems. Now, here they are. Now, thankfully, year to date, their stock has started to recover a little bit, but it's still not what it used to be. A lot of work to be done. Bob Iger also saying definitively 100%, 2026, he's stepping down for the last time. Only this time, they're going to be a lot more careful about who they select to come in and be the CEO after him, to make sure they keep following the roadmap that they are laying out now and not all of a sudden deciding to take a harsh left turn. Chris, it's not often, if ever, that we have heard Bob Iger, who on top of being the businessman that he is a brilliant diplomat. He's great at diplomacy for the most part. For him to actually come out and, well, talk smack about, what Bob Chapek did. I'm sure he probably feels pretty personally hurt by some of the things that happened there. Mm-hmm. What did you take away from his statements, and what do you think about him speaking out about it now?
Well, diplomatic isn't the word of the year for Bobby, is it? I mean, if you're an actor or if you're Bob, he's going to come for you. You're either disappointing him, saying something that's disturbing, or you're disappointing him. So, all the D words with Papa Bob here. I have to bring up, too, because we always do kind of have to give Chapek a little bit of grace because he was CEO during a pandemic. Yep. He had to deal with a lot of things there. And also, Bob Iger was still executive chairman for 22 months when he left. He still had a lot of creative control. So when he says he distanced himself from things, okay.
Well, I mean, he stayed out of Bob Chapek's way. He let Chapek do what a CEO is supposed to do, which is run the company.
To an extent, but it still was also like a CEO in trainers, like with the little training wheels on.
Yeah,
like he didn't get to fully be a CEO for a while. He didn't even get The Office, right? CNN did a big story on this a couple months ago. So I understand him saying this, and also that he needs to start laying the groundwork of having a better succession plan this time. Because we know he has the hard out in 2026. That's just around the corner. And he was so sure and steadfast in who he chose last time.
Yeah.
So fool me once, shame on us, fool me twice. Oh, Bobby, you got to do better this time. If you're going to say that all of the problems Disney has had is because of your successor, I don't feel great about you choosing your next one, honestly.
Well, guess what? Well, this time, though, he doesn't get the lone voice in choosing a successor because last time he was also chairman of the board and CEO. He relinquished the chairman of the board seat, so he is no longer chairman of the board. So now the whole board is going to be more involved in choosing a successor this time around, and hopefully they do a better job this time.
Which is the way to go, I think. I think that's a very, very smart move. And honestly, a lot of other corporations go about it that way. You vote on who the successor is going to be. That seems to make more sense. This is not an episode of Succession. We should not have people fighting for this part. We should have a bunch of level-headed people coming together to make this decision. I mean, I feel like also Bob Iger just hasn't had a ton of great press lately.
All right.
And I feel like this is also probably a great time to go, hey, but I'm better than that other guy, right?
You know what he needs to do?
I'm going to stand up to that. I'm going to stand up to that because I think during the strikes and everything, he was far more diplomatic than the unions were. Because where the unions were coming out and throwing around a lot of blatant insults, using nasty language and calling names, he came out and said, I'm disappointed in this. Or he would say, he spoke a lot more diplomatic. Let's be honest. It was a hard, dirty, lots of things at stake fight. I would not give any merit badges to the unions for how diplomatic they were during.
I can understand that, but I also think a billionaire on his yacht saying it's disturbing people asking for a living wage is an absolutely ludicrous statement.
That is not what he said. Let's be. Those words never came out of his mouth.
He said it was disturbing the unions.
He said it was disturbing that they seemed to be asking for some things that were unrealistic. He never said, I think it's disturbing that they're asking for. He never said that.
It's one of the things.
And again, that's another example of diplomacy versus non-diplomacy. He never did anything like that.
All I know.
Listen, remember, it was all the studios, right? It was all the studios.
Sure, it's not personally Bob Iger. As a matter of fact, it was really.
I think everybody acknowledges it was really mostly Netflix. That was the hold up and the stick in the mud for a lot of the things there. But I mean, listen, they still got a long way to go. I mean, they gained back 6.5% of their stock. That's great until you look at the context that they've lost a lot more than that prior to that. So they still have a big hole that they need to dig out of. And can they dig? I'm going to say right now, they can't dig all the way out of it between now and 2026.
No, they have way too many issues. They have theme park issues. They have the ever-increasing price of streaming. They have their content failing a lot of times in theaters and online. I don't think so many things.
I don't think we can name a single division or branch of Disney right now that is not struggling. Because you pointed out, theme parks are struggling. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're not saying they're on death's door, but
for sure.
they are having issues. Their licensing stuff is having issues. Their Star Wars stuff is having issues. Their Pixar stuff is facing challenges. Their Marvel stuff is facing challenges. Their international licensing is facing challenges. Like literally almost every single branch. I'm like, maybe one of you guys at home can point out a branch that is still right now completely healthy, but I can't think of it. They've got a lot of work to do.
But can we just admit one thing? Bob Chapek looks sweet with that beard.
Oh man, that dude, he never should have lost the beard.
A good beard, man. I think Iger should compete.
He rocked that beard.
I do love a retirement beard. Like when Letterman was just like, I'm going to be a mountain man. Let's go.
He had a good beard
I feel like that's the way to do it.
Yeah, but Letterman's beard went a little crazy.
He had ZZ Top, and I was here for it.
But enough of this Bob on Bob.
Chapek's beard was a fine beard. That was a fine beard, no doubt. Yep. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, there's been a lot of talk and discussion lately about what is happening with Kang, what's going to happen with Kang Dynasty, new writers, new directors going to have to come in, all that kind of stuff. But is there a possibility that they could completely change gears here and make these Avengers films Secret Wars Part 1 and 2? That's the theme of today's Mint Mobile Hotline Question of the Day. Listen, guys, if you've got a question for the show or a topic and you'd like to hear your voice on our show, go ahead and call our hotline number anytime 24/7 at 951-268-4259. And today's question is specifically about what's happening with Avengers 5 and 6. Check it out.
Hey, John and crew, this is Scal from North Carolina. Obviously, you guys have talked a lot about Marvel, and one of the things you've talked about is how they could be moving away from Kang. My question is, instead of Kang Dynasty, what do you think the chances are that they do Avengers Secret Wars Part 1 and Part 2? It would give them a chance to flesh out a better story. It would give them a chance to figure out who's in the Avengers, and it could lay some groundwork for what could happen afterwards. Thanks a lot, and bring on the filthy.
All right, Kyle, thanks a lot for calling that in. And yeah, listen, there have been a lot of reports and stories and headlines going around about the possibility that Disney might be angling and course adjusting away from the Kang storyline. And there could be some validity to that, or maybe not. But there is something that has kind of been manifesting, which is whether it's Kang or not Kang, it seems like they have been changing their plans for Avengers 5 and 6. Because just recently, they lost the director. Well, didn't lose the director because the director's just going on to direct other Marvel properties. But the director who was involved with Avengers Kang Dynasty, Destin, he's off. They removed the writer, who was Jeff Loveness at the time. They removed the writer. Then we heard that Kevin Feige was keen on having one writer or one group of writers to write both Avengers 5 and 6. And then the word became official that Michael Waldron, who directed or wrote, I should say, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. He also was kind of the de facto showrunner in a way of Loki season 1, and was writing Avengers 6 Secret Wars, that he'd been given the job of writer for Avengers 5. So now he is writing both Avengers 5 and Avengers 6. All that, while it does not definitively conclude anything, it does seem to at least hint that they are creating Avengers 5 and 6 to maybe be more of a unified story. I'm sure there was going to be a lot of connective tissue between a Kang Dynasty movie and a Secret Wars movie anyway, but it seems like they've definitely taken a change of course. How drastic, we don't know. Whether that course is more into Kang or away from Kang, we don't know. But they've definitely made a change, and it is definitely to more unify those two movies. Could they end up just being straight up called Secret Wars Part 1 and Secret Wars Part 2? It's a possibility. I'm not going to say definitively they will, but it is absolutely a possibility. Whether they go that way, I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. But I do want to touch on a couple things you said there. Like, if they make it 1 or 2, you can flesh out a better story. Longer doesn't equal better. I just want to remind everybody that. Stretching one story over 2 movies does not mean it's a better story. Godfather, Part 1, all by itself, and by the way, it was never called Part 1, it was just called The Godfather. Still to this day, claimed one of, if not the greatest film of all time, and it only needed 1 movie. Now, of course, they went on to make a sequel, but that was after it won Best Picture and all that kind of stuff. The greatest movies of all time are 1 movie. You can tell the greatest stories of all time in 1 movie. The idea that you need 2 or 3 movies to tell your story means you're not very good at telling a story. Choosing to go that route can be great, but if you think you need that much time to tell a story, then I don't think so. So I don't think that means anything. Setting things up, setting things out. Again, most of the great movies of all time are able to do all that in 1 movie. So I don't think that. What it does give them an opportunity to do, though, is to tell multiple stories under the umbrella of one overarching story. And if they want to do that, much like, let's go back and look at Infinity War and Endgame. In reality, those are 2 very different movies. Infinity War, a lot of people talk about how Infinity War had a cliffhanger. As Rob and I will often talk about, it did not have a cliffhanger. Infinity War had a definitive ending. The bad guy won. That was it. End of movie, the bad guy won. Now, then Endgame comes along, picks up 5 years later, and to quote Star Wars, there's a new hope. Maybe we can do the time travel thing and fix everything, right? But they are 2 very different stories, but very, very well connected. Maybe they can do the same thing here with Avengers 5 and Avengers 6. I have no idea at the end of the day what they're going to do with Kang. My guess right now, Chris, and I could be way off, this is just a guess like any other fan, I still am guessing they're pivoting away from Kang. And my guess is that Avengers 5 will not have Kang in the title. And if it's not, Secret Wars Parts 1, now that you got the same writer to do both of them, seems pretty viable. What direction do you think they're going here? Could it end up being Secret Wars Part 1 and 2? Anything else that's happening right now makes you lean one way or the other? Are they going with Kang and not going with Kang? How do you see this right now?
What makes me lean one way or the other is we still don't know what's going on with Jonathan Majors. And I think it's smart of Disney to just play it safe and remove Kang from the title, unless we're already going to go ahead and do a recasting, which I think is too early to call. We still don't know. We still don't know anything about this court case truly until everything is laid out in court, right? I also think if you are going to do Secret Wars, you do have 2 source materials really to pull from, because there's the 1980s story,
old one and the new one,
plus the 2015 one. Yeah, so you do have a lot of different things to juggle. And I know we talked about it, and as ridiculous as it is, how do you work in some of those storylines if you do stick to some of the things within that comic?
Right.
Like the burger. Like, how do you tell some of these stories
That is one of the greatest MacGuffins, I think, in comic book
amazing.
story history. I love that.
It's ridiculous. If you guys don't know about this, please go
Yeah, I don't.
read up on the Secret Wars burger.
Let's just say, double check your pockets.
Always,
Just
always double
pockets.
check your pockets. You should. And honestly, it's why you should always have a snack with you too.
Yeah.
You never know who's going to be hangry. And there's a lot that you can cover in here. The Battle World stuff often is regarded as kind of a silly big comic book event, as many of the big comic book events are. It's really a way to just get everybody's story to connect for one moment so you can sell a whole bunch of issues, have a through line through everything. But there's some really fun, juicy stuff in there too that you could either do with Kang or with Doom, or set up another baddie, or have Loki playing a big part in this, depending on how that all moves forward with this new storyline, right? The God of Stories is probably going to have more of a say in Secret Wars. I think you got a lot of good stuff to work with there. I think it's the right move if that's what they're doing.
Now, what a lot of people will point out to, like talking about Secret Wars, say, well, in the Secret Wars comics, see, if you're going to have time, if you're going to cover this and this and this and this and this, it's just important for us to remind ourselves, guys, don't forget, Marvel has never stuck tight to any comic book story, right? Civil War was a very different movie than it was a comic book story. Going into Fox, X-Men Days of Future Past, I still think one of the greatest comic book movies ever made, but X-Men Days of Future Past was a very different movie than it was from the comic book story.
You don't even have Kitty Pryde.
They could now.
Yeah.
Theoretically, they could now.
Yeah.
But I mean, just because they're going to make a movie and it's titled after a popular comic book story, all that is really guarantees us is that the basic premise will borrow heavily from that. But as far as the details, they can take it in 1,000 different directions. Because if you go back a number of years and told somebody they're going to make a Civil War movie, great, and it ain't going to have Spider-Man. You can't do I mean, of course, Spider-Man pops up, but not in the role we know him in the story. It's like, you can't do Civil War. Well, guess what? They did. They did it. And because they just do it a lot differently. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of story they decide to go. Because I don't know if, like, all the heroes just appearing in this Battle World thing and the whiteout happening. And although, man, with Reed Richards in there now, to see one of those versions of Reed Richards would be pretty damn cool.
That'd be very fun.
Especially if it's Pedro Pascal. All right. Anyway, by the way, sorry, quick side note. Did you see that YouTube video going around where somebody says when Joel wakes up in Last of Us, you know how when Joel had the infection, he was in his coma, and Ellie gets him the medicine and wakes him up, and he starts to wake up. Somebody took that scene and then took his sketch from Saturday Night Live of waking up out of a coma and rotoscoping his face into Joel going, "What's happening?" Or doing his voice. Oh my God, it's one of the... In theory, it doesn't sound that funny.
No, that's great.
But when you watch it, it's so funny. And then it cuts to Ellie's face looking like really confused. It's gold. Anyway.
Perfect.
Sorry. See, you bring up Pedro Pascal. We can go in any direction we want. All right, guys, listen. We still have a couple things to talk about, including Killers of the Flower Moon taking the first big award in award season. We're going to talk about Zac Snyder defending and saying, hey, I'll work with Amber Heard again anytime. That and a whole bunch more. But before we get to that, we're going to take a quick second here and thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Rocket Money and MasterClass. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Rocket Money. Do you struggle to save money every month? With Rocket Money, you can quickly identify all those sneaky subscriptions that keep charging you month after month and cancel any you no longer use. For example, did you know that over 80% of people have subscriptions that they've completely forgotten about? It's too easy to subscribe to a free trial of something and then completely forget about it once you stop using it. That's why I'm such a big fan of Rocket Money. I've told you guys before that when I started using Rocket Money, I realized that I was still subscribed to a gym in another city I had moved away from 2 years ago. Also, my music service? Yeah, I found out I was still subscribed to 2 others. How much do you think you're paying a month on subscriptions? Most people think they're paying $80 a month, but they're actually paying closer to $200. That's why I use Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. With Rocket Money, you can easily cancel the ones you don't want with just the press of a button. With over 5 million users and counting, Rocket Money has helped save its customers on an average of $720 a year and $1 billion in total total savings so far. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and manage your money the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. rocketmoney.com/Campea. We want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of this video, MasterClass. Guys, as a small business owner, I am finding myself having to be in negotiations all the time, whether it's with new contractors, vendors, or even agencies that represent our company. Now, I don't like to go into these negotiations unarmed, so I found the perfect class on MasterClass, The Art of Negotiation by Chris Voss, a real-life former FBI lead hostage negotiator. Taking this class on MasterClass made me feel a lot more equipped and confident going into all these various negotiations I have to do on a regular basis. With MasterClass, you can learn from the best to become your best anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. An annual membership starts at just $10 a month, and you get unlimited access to every instructor, thousands of online lessons, exclusive content, insight, and much more. There are over 180 classes to pick from, everything from filmmaking with Martin Scorsese all the way to cooking with the great Gordon Ramsay. In MasterClass, you will find practical lessons that you can apply to your life and work. So guys, get unlimited access to every class, and right now, as a John Campea Show listener, you can get 15% off when you go to masterclass.com/Campea. That's masterclass.com/Campea for 15% off an annual membership. masterclass.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Rocket Money and MasterClass for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, before we get back into those things, I got a couple things. Sorry, I just want... Have you guys been watching Squid Game?
Well, I just started this morning.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Why not, Chris?
You remember me? I was like, this seems like a lame idea, blah, blah. They have done such a good job of making this one of the most stressful drama things.
Yeah.
I have, with unexpected twists and turns along the whole way. It's won me over. It's totally what they just dropped some new episodes last night. And I ended, just not to spoil anything, but just so you guys know where I ended. I ended on the guy saying, I can't let the whole group suffer for the choice of one person, and takes a leap, and then it ends there. I'm like, what happens? They've done such a good job. I know I expressed some skepticism about this show when it was coming out, but I eat those words. They've done a really good job making this a compelling show.
Ray and Jonathan were super into it when I got in here.
Yeah.
Ray had it up on the screen.
Ray had it on, so I'm like, oh, what's this? I should be prepping for the show, but I'll just watch this instead.
They're taking advantage of nothing coming out the day that they release it, too. I mean...
Well, maybe that's it. But I mean, even Jonathan, like I came out, and Jonathan's watching on Ray's screen over his shoulder, and even Jonathan's like, that girl's manipulating everybody. She's getting into their heads and all this kind of stuff. Like, even he is getting wrapped up in it.
I don't need to watch a show to see that.
I just come to work every day.
You live that life.
I live that life every day.
Straight thug.
Also, I forgot to show this guys to you yesterday, but one of our viewers named Brian, I guess put together, he pixified, turned me and the rest of the group here into Pixar characters. And I thought I should show you some of the results. So this one is me.
Yep. Looking good. Looking good.
My favorite one, though, has to be Chris Carr.
With my double mics.
With double mics. She has so much to say. She's doing the double mic.
I gotta say, though, since last year, I've lost that double chin, guys. Come on,
There's
Pixar.
no double chin there.
A little bit.
It's
She's a little
looking
tubby.
good.
And then...
I love that one. And then,
Jonathan.
Then of course, really capturing the spirit of Ray Aura.
Sleepy
Look
Ray.
at the guy. The guy that doesn't belong.
I think it's
in a
little
Pixar
astronaut
movie.
guys instead of the turtles. They're little astronauts. It's
Yeah.
still fitting.
We made it. We made it to Pixar, baby.
I really like this. And then we've got our own Matt Reeves.
Made it to
Jonathan Woyko. Got the stash going on there.
Like a Spider-Verse older Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, a little bit. And then we've got
Why
we've
does
got Rob.
look like a baby with hair?
And a villain. The way he did his eyes, he looks like
A baby. A baby.
I like how AI thinks that's what books are.
that's what books are. But I keep going back to this one. I don't know why.
Because, man, I'm so sad that I will never make it in a Pixar movie.
Aww.
By the way, see, the reason why this picture is so appropriate is no one else is here, but It's always good to start your day with a good shot of enthusiasm,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And now Ray gets to the office before I do every day.
Yeah.
Well, almost every day.
Yeah.
He's in here, right? So, and it's usually me and Ray are the first two people.
Yeah.
And I come in the door. I kid you not. I come in the door every day. And I'm like, good morning. And like, I swear to God, every day, doesn't look at me, doesn't. I'm not even kidding.
It's because, man.
All right.
The key is
good day.
The key is you got to joke with him. I've noticed. So like, I'll come in and be like, "Hey, what's up?" He's like,
Oh, yeah, I do that to you,
But then
too.
what I'll start doing is I'll just start saying something
Come on.
stupid or whatever, and then he starts
singing.
to perk up.
As much as you like your jobs, everyone, if you're not a morning person, you're just not a morning person. But it doesn't take much to get me going. So
Yeah, I say some stupid dad joke, and
yeah,
he's good.
snap out of it. It's just one of those things. I'm still
But
sleeping.
you know what? It's an Aura family trait.
It is.
Because I remember when Ann and I, for those of you who don't know, Ray is Ann's brother. When Ann and I, like for the first year or two of our relationship, like Ann is, whenever I call her, like I don't make a lot of phone calls. I don't talk on the phone, but I would call her because, she was my
Yeah.
new
And you
new
whoop.
squeeze.
That's why.
And I would call her. I'm like, hey, Ann. Or she'd answer the phone.
What?
What?
Yes. The infamous
Whoa.
call.
Like I know, like
Oh.
every time, and I thought it was me. It's like this girl's not as into me as I thought. But then I'd be with her, and your mom would call her. She goes, "What?" Like when her mom would call.
We're
And
just-
it was finally after a year or two that I built up the courage to say, honey, I think you need to work on your phone answering skills. But it's that first greeting. I think it's an Aura thing.
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's
I
an
had to-
Aura
I
family
had
If
to
thing.
I
stop.
said what to my mom on the phone, she'd be like, "Is this a hate crime? What's
I
wrong
know.
with you?"
I had
know, I would
had
be
to
in
stop
trouble.
John, and I had to say, "Hey, man, nothing against you. I'm just not a morning person. I pretty much just woke up, so
Anyway, again, let's look
Anyway.
at this picture.
Thank you for those.
This is such a great picture.
Pixar. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it in Turning Red too. I don't know who I'm gonna be, but
All right. With all that down, guys, let's get into this, shall we? Woo! Is December tomorrow?
Yes.
Is tomorrow December?
Tomorrow's December.
man.
Tomorrow is December, which means it's award season time, ladies and gentlemen. The awards are going to start coming out, all the different awards organizations. Slow clap, of course.
Well, you had to start it with the honk honk. I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad.
I don't know either. It felt right. I felt it in the moment, so I went with it. That's what never mind. I'm going to not say what I was about
let's
to
go.
say.
Let's do
So it's award season. They're all going to start rolling out. And the New York Film Critics Circle is the first one out of the gate, the first significant one out of the gate to announce their awards for this year, which is odd because it's not December yet. So, a lot of the qualifying films have not yet come out. But you know what? The New York Film Critics Circle, they do something that's really neat. Chris and I were talking about this before the show started. Whereas most of, if not all of the other major awards stuff, they vote on it long in advance and they get together for the big night to announce the winners. The New York Film Critics Circle does it differently. They all show up to the event and that's when they vote. And then they right there, immediately they announce the winners.
Well, that's just because they procrastinate.
Yeah, they're just lazy. That's all. I personally like that. I mean, you
I think
can't
it's
do that with the
great.
Academy because there's like 8,000 voting members.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really like the way they kind of do this. Well, at any rate, the awards have been handed out. Will this be a precursor to what's coming at the Oscars? We don't know. We will find out. But here's how the awards played out. They have a category called Best First Film, which I kind of like that. Went to Past Lives. Past Lives is, I was a little bit late to the party on Past Lives. It is so moving. And did you see it?
I haven't yet.
For those of you who have, the taxi scene at the end. Oh my God. The movie's brilliant and wonderful. So it won Best Animated Feature, The Boy and the Heron. Must admit, I haven't seen it.
I'm so excited
I mean,
to
it
see
literally
it.
just came out. So I
Yeah.
mean,
Best Nonfiction Feature, Menace. Yeah, that one. Best Supporting Actor, Reggie from Riverdale, ladies and gentlemen. Charles Melton for May, December. That comes out, I believe, this week, I think, on Netflix. But Reggie from Riverdale has gone on, and now he's an award-winning actor, winning Best Supporting Actor, playing opposite, of course, Julianne Moore and Natalie Portman in May, December. Again, comes out this week. Best Supporting Actress, I loved her performance in this. Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. I think you're going to see The Holdovers get pretty decent amount of Oscar attention. Actually, I really enjoyed the film. Anyway, best cinematography, no big surprise here. Hoyt van Hoytma, Oppenheimer. Best international film, Anatomy of a Fall. Best screenplay, May December. Best actor, Franz Rogowski from Passages. Best actress, Lily Gladstone from Killers of the Flower Moon. And then best director went to Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, but their big prize, best film of the year, went to Killers of the Flower Moon in a little bit of a surprise. But then again, it's Marty's town. It's New York. Shouldn't be that much of a surprise. But Killers of the Flower Moon takes the first big prize of the year. And Chris, I think everybody knew even before the movie came out. I mean, certainly since we've seen it, but that Killers of the Flower Moon is going to be one of the major players come Oscar season. I think you're looking at nominations for probably Robert De Niro.
Yes.
Probably for Leonardo DiCaprio, Lily Gladstone. Scorsese's going to get a Best Director nomination. And I think everybody believes it's going to get a Best Picture nomination. Anyway, they're the first ones out of the gate. What do you think about the results that we got here?
It's that whole movie is award season catnip.
It really is.
It's just if you could put together a Mad Lib of what gets nominated for Best Picture, it's everything in this. It makes sense. It makes sense. You have a very important topic. You have Martin Scorsese. You have incredible actors. And everything I've heard about Lily is that she is just an absolute force of nature. So I love seeing her in the mix here. But it's one of those things of, yep, I feel like if you're a betting man, I know you are, you're going to put your money on this one, right? Because this is absolutely getting nominated across every different award there is this season.
You know what category it won't qualify for?
Special effects.
Best short movie.
Yeah.
Best popular film.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
people aren't.
Because ain't nobody went to go see this movie. It
I gotta be honest.
fell on its face.
I'm like, all right. I'm looking at the AMC app. I'm like, this has to be what I go to. And every time I'm like, 3.5 hours.
Do I-
It's a commitment. It's a commitment you have to make.
Same boat of just
3 hours? It's like whatever. But after 3 hours,
After
I gotta
three-
stay another 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I know,
and plus
After
30
3
minutes
hours,
per-
I still have another episode of Seinfeld to go
Yeah,
through.
and you
Yeah.
have 30 minutes of previews to get there too.
But
I
I
don't
will tell
want
you
it to be
this,
Eras
Jonathan,
twirling.
it's worth it.
I know.
Oh, is
It's
it?
a
I know.
really
is it?
is it? It is. It's a really good movie, man.
I did
It's
pick. I
really
picked
good.
Godzilla -1. I picked The Holdovers and the one with Nick Cage, The Dream, where he's in everyone's dreams.
yes.
Yes, I am dying to see
So
that.
once I see one of those off the list, I get another one. Then I probably will do Killers.
Yeah, well, it'll be out of theaters by then.
I'm
But I
gonna
think
do it at home.
the big issue here, though, is somebody from Riverdale winning a major acting.
We were
award.
talking about
Yes,
this though.
we were.
These actors on this show are phenomenal. They were phenomenal. Like most of them are like graduates of like Tisch and really amazing programs too. They're great actors.
Oh, yeah, the fact that they can get through a scene without laughing. Is awesome.
Truly, honestly, it's just people really enjoyed the ridiculousness of Riverdale till they didn't, and then it became kind of its satire on its own. But they're great kids on that show. I shouldn't even say kids; they're great adults. They're all in like their 30s. They're my
Those
age.
kids.
Those
Those
kids.
years.
Those kids.
And by the way, I think Ray, you might have mentioned it before we came back from ad break, but I mean, first or another big win for Apple.
Yeah.
Remember,
They
Killers
might.
of the Flower Moon. This is an Apple TV finance production, and this is a big win for them.
I got an idea. We should have our own award show
Ooh.
where we have the members vote on the winners, and then we just, because the most award thing is fine. Being, known as the Oscar award-winning person, yeah, that's great. But really, it all comes down to what you like. What you feel was the best picture. It'll be interesting to see. It'll
Will
be
you
interesting
do
to
the
see what our
awards?
community.
Can you
I
Yeah,
don't
but then-
believe in voter award shows though.
Oh.
Because what ultimately happens is, and this is why I hate the MTV Movie Awards and all this kind of stuff, but what ultimately happens is that you get people voting who literally saw 5 movies that year.
Oh, true.
And it's like, that's why
I just want Ray to do acceptance speeches for each thing that wins. That's why I
Oh,
like this
yeah.
idea.
Martin Scorsese's not here to accept the campy.
We're gonna have to.
So
The
accepting on
Campy.
his behalf is Ray Ora.
We're gonna have to do the Conan O'Brien thing where we cut out the lips and I speak for every single winner.
I love it.
The Campy is it'd be almost
The
like a
Campy.
Razzie.
The Campy.
Campy.
Yeah.
Welcome
Biggest
to
flop, Meg 2. What else do we
37th
have?
annual The Campies. Yeah, there we go. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? There's a really big movie coming out that may or may not do really super well, which is Aquaman 2. The first film, of course, made over $1 billion. The only film in the DCEU ever to accomplish that thing. And it was a fun little movie. I don't apologize for that at all. I thought it was a really fun little film. Like, great cinema, as Marty Scorsese might suggest. No, maybe not. They have its issues. Sure it did, but it was fun. And I love Jason Momoa in this role. I really do. And, go ahead, shoot me. I liked Amber Heard's casting in it. And I thought she was good. And of course, the person who cast her, Zac Snyder, has, throughout all the controversy surrounding the situation with Amber Heard, has steadfastly stood by her. Not only, verbally supporting her, but then when it came time to do the Zac Snyder cut of Justice League, he put her right back in there. He put her back in for that post-credit scene with Joker and all that kind of stuff. Which is whatever. Well, anyway, he was recently asked, he's got that new, really interesting looking film coming out. 2 of them, actually, Rebel Moon, with Sofia Boutella and Jax from Sons of Anarchy. I'm quite interested in that movie. I'm looking forward to watching that. Well, he was directly asked about all the stuff surrounding Amber Heard, and he 100% came to her defense, and he's basically even saying, I'll work with her again in a second. This is what came to us from the folks over at Screen Rant who wrote this. As per the Hollywood Reporter, Snyder defends Amber Heard. According to Snyder, he, quote, just doesn't get it when people say they dislike her. The director would work with her in a second. Check out Snyder's full comment below. And then his direct quote is, I just don't get it. If other people don't like her, I don't know what to say. I would work with her in a second. Now, what's interesting to me about that is, number one, it's very well timed. The people at Warner Brothers are thrilled that Zac Snyder's saying that right now because they've got Aquaman 2 coming out really soon. And one of the big things of conversation, understandably, that comes up whenever somebody mentions Aquaman 2 is, I ain't going to see it because Amber Heard's in it. Now, there's a little bit of Mandela effect that goes around with Amber Heard. A lot of people mention that she lost the lawsuit. True, but a lot of people also forget that the first lawsuit that happened, which was in the UK. Again, I'm just stating a fact. Don't get mad at me for just quoting a fact.
Nope, too late. I'm mad.
Too late. I'm mad. But the fact is,
the internet's always reasonable.
Yeah.
I know. The internet's always reasonable. The reality is the first trial that happened in the UK, in rendering out their decision, the judges specifically wrote in it that the accusations made against Johnny Depp that he was a quote unquote wife beater were, and I quote, substantively true. The evidence showed that the claims that he was a wife beater were substantively true. That happened too. And then, of course, the American trial happened, in which was a pretty definitive win for Johnny Depp and whatever. And look, everybody agrees. It's just a bloody mess.
Yeah, it's a shit show.
And it's left everybody's career in pieces and in shambles, fairly or unfairly. And it's just kind of interesting right now. And look, I'm not trying to paint with a broad brush here. And correct me if you think I'm wrong about this. But I found in online discourse, at least from my own personal observations, and again, correct me if you think I'm wrong, I found a lot of times that some of the more vocal anti-Amber Heard people were Zac Snyder fans. And I just, and again, maybe I'm wrong about that. That was just my observation. Correct me if I'm wrong. So it's really interesting hearing Zac Snyder at this point come out and specifically and very definitively come out in defense of Amber Heard. And of course, he's worked with her a long time. He's got a personal relationship with her. He knows her, and saying, I would work with her again in a second. Obviously I'd put her in my movies again, which would be very interesting to see how his own fan base would respond were he to do that. So it's just interesting to see. Again, I wouldn't even care about this so much if it wasn't for the fact that we got Aquaman coming out any minute now. And despite how important the character was in the first movie, I believe out of all the trailers, there has been one shot of Mera. A lot of talk about the fact that she's married to Aquaman now. A lot of talk about the fact that they have a baby. But in all the promotional things, I've seen one shot of Mera, which is like that thing where she's behind a big thing of glass and she's trying to knock the glass.
Yeah.
That's maybe I've missed something else, but that's the only thing they're putting her in, because they do not want Amber. They don't want, when people are talking about Aquaman 2, for the conversation to become about Amber Heard. which they haven't been able to prevent, but they're just trying not to feed into it more. So I get that. Anyway, Chris, I thought it was very interesting that Zac Snyder made these comments. And listen, too, I think what this will also do for Zac Snyder for a lot, because he's always stood by all the actors that have worked with him, right? I mean, he hasn't come out and said be very supportive of Ezra Miller, but he's never come out and spoken against Ezra Miller. I think one of these things is saying to a lot of actors out there, it's like, hey, if you work with me, I'll always have your back. I mean, and what's that?
Ride or die.
Right? Yeah. Once you work with me, I will always have your back. That he didn't say that, but that's kind of the message coming out here. Anyway, what do you think about Zac Snyder's comments, particularly this close to something like this? And at the end of the day, do you think it's going to change anybody's mind?
No, I don't think so. People have already made up their mind about her. I mean, so many times in the comments here, they refer to her as Amber Turd. It's so clever. It's so clever. The whole thing was an absolute mess. It was absolute chaos. That trial, Logan was so into watching clips of stuff on YouTube, and I just could not. This kind of thing I always find just so disgusting and gross. I do not like to watch other people's marriages implode. That is not the kind of Schadenfreude I like.
Because I might be wrong about this, but did Depp and her not initially hook up while Depp was already married?
Was Depp married before, or were they just long-term
they were
partners?
Depp was definitely married before. I just can't remember if he was married or she was married when they first. I can't remember.
I'm not
but
sure.
I might be wrong about that.
Yeah.
I don't follow this clearly.
Yeah.
But I'm like, imagine that. Two people who first hooked up while cheating on one of their other spouses, and the relationship didn't work.
I'm not sure what
that.
happened there. Yeah. I'm not sure how that started. I don't know where it started. I don't know where it ended. None of it's my business.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to change anyone's mind, though. I think it is a nice little potential boost for this movie of, hey, I really like her. And I think you're right. There does seem to be this kind of overlay in the Venn diagram of people who like Zac Snyder in the Snyderverse and who dislike Amber Heard. And maybe that'll push a few people over into seeing Aquaman 2. Maybe that could help things out.
I mean, we can all agree she ruined Justice League.
Her was absolutely her
post-credit scene ruined Justice
League.
League.
Having an English accent or not or something. That I personally found her so unmemorable in Aquaman. I think so many other actresses could have done this part. I didn't think it was a particularly interesting role. Whereas, her part in Zombieland, I think about all the time. She's killer.
She was in Zombieland?
She's the co-ed who turns at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
She's so good in that. There have been other things where she does a really, really great job. This role for me didn't stand out, so I kind of don't have any stake in the game here. You either like her or you don't. Yeah. And what's really unfortunate is it's something that has nothing to do with any of us. It has nothing to do with her acting. It's just that kind of internet tribalism.
Even if I don't personally, I have an opinion about someone, that doesn't stop me from seeing the movie.
Yeah.
Also, I think
unless it's there's someone who hurt somebody.
I understand that too, and I understand voting with your dollar and all that. But yeah, if it's somebody who tremendously harmed someone, and unfortunately, it seems like it was two people who continued harming each other. But again, I still don't know all the ins and outs of that situation to be like, well, I'm going to write off every movie.
Right?
He's probably just had good experiences with Amber. He's never had a problem. That's the way you could hear a lot of stuff about people, but until I meet them, I judge myself. Maybe that's the way he's doing it. He doesn't care about all the noise. Just his personal experience one-on-one with her maybe has been good. And so him wanting to work with her again seems normal to me.
Sure. It does bring up a question though. It's one thing to say something. It's another thing to do something. And would Zac Snyder actually cast Amber Heard in one of his movies again? And I'm not calling Zac a liar. He's saying something supportive. Nothing wrong with that. I would be very, very surprised. Let's just put it that way. If Zac Snyder actually cast her to be in something, because there's no real consequences or fallout from saying, I support this girl, I would cast her again in a second. I mean, you might get some people grumbling at you and mad at you, whatever, but it's another thing entirely to actually do it. Because if you do believe there's enough people out there who hate Amber Heard so much that they're not going to go see anything with her in it, then will Zac Snyder actually, quote unquote, put his money where his mouth is and actually put her in something? And I don't think he will.
But you know what? There's also the thing of there's some people you work with that bring the best out of you.
That's true.
Same with and same thing in relationships. You want to be with the person that brings the best out of you, improves, not makes you a terrible person. I mean, it's the same thing in your work environment. You want to work with the people that bring the best out of you. So that's probably another thing.
What's that like, Ray?
Maybe all the noise, the noise doesn't matter, and that's all that matters in this situation. You know, I don't know. I don't know them.
You do also have to draw a line, though, when somebody you work with, because it happens. You have a friend, you have a coworker, you have somebody who you have a great relationship with who hurts people.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So there's
True,
that other layer,
true,
too, of
true.
you can want to work with people all day long, but if they are problematic and cause mayhem on your set or are hurting others or are being incredibly destructive and putting other people's jobs or lives or et cetera at risk, or at least their livelihoods, then you do have to draw that line. But again, this is something where it's just, there's so much he said, she said, and I have my own opinions on the matter, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, let's just hope it's the
Weird.
best for everybody.
Yeah, but you know, this is one of those unfortunate situations where I don't know the best for everybody is ever going to come out.
Yeah.
I don't think Depp is ever going to have a real established Hollywood career again. I don't think Heard is going to have a real established Hollywood career again, despite what Zac Snyder just said.
And it brings us back to the current trial right now.
With
Even
Jonathan
if he
Majors?
is not, even if he is not guilty, what may come out of this trial may damage him forever.
Well, and then I mean, his agency with those comments. So.
And his talent is so. I was riding the Jonathan Majors train. Like when we watched Creed, I was like, this guy's gonna be a force.
He is a force.
Yeah.
He is a force. I was super disappointed when the news first came out. I just
You know, I still think, though, depending what's in these sealed documents that they're trying to get out, I still believe everything is so preliminary that if the trial ends and they come straight out and say not guilty verdict, boom, I honestly think he can get right back on track. I really do. I don't think now, but again, who knows? Other things could come out in the trial that may turn things. Again, his own agencies dropped him, stuff like that. So I don't know if there's any lessons to be learned here. At least there's not an Amber Heard factor, say it in the Jonathan Majors one. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. Guys, I am very curious what you think about that. Zac Snyder comes out and says, defends Amber Heard, says he'd work with her again in a second. But really, would he? Would he actually, when money is on the line, actually cast Amber Heard to be in one of his projects? I'll be really surprised if he does, but we'll see. Whatever you guys think, jump on down to the comments and let us know. All right, guys, with that all down, we are now going to go over to the most important part, which is taking your live comments and questions. Listen, if you are watching live right now and got a comment or question, go ahead and use the super chat feature and fire that in. And then we're also going to take a bunch of questions from our beloved YouTube channel members who fired in some stuff earlier. But before we do, we're going to take a moment here and thank another sponsor of the John Campea Show podcast today, my mobile service provider, and they should be yours, Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to take a moment and thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. Give yourself the gift of insane savings this holiday season with Mint Mobile's best wireless deal of the year. Right now, when you switch to Mint Mobile and buy any 3-month plan, you'll get another 3 months for free. That's 6 months of premium wireless service for the price of 3. And Mint Mobile lets you order and activate from home while saving tons on phone plans starting at just $15 a month. Seriously, I can't think of a better gift than turning an overpriced wireless bill into just $15 a month with Mint Mobile. I've told you guys many times, since switching to Mint Mobile, I am spending less than a third on my mobile service plan with Mint than I was on the previous big carrier who was my provider. By going online only and eliminating the traditional cost of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily and effortlessly with eSIM. So again, for a limited time, buy any 3-month Mint Mobile plan and get 3 more months free by going to mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea.
Bob, stop it.
And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile for not just being my mobile service provider, but also for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show podcast. And our other new show, or sponsor, the new show on NBC, The Two Bobs, which is coming out very soon.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be a big
ABC,
hit.
you mean? Come on.
ABC,
Disney.
that's right. ABC.
ABC.
Going to be a big, giant hit. I
Bob
can't
and
wait.
Bob.
All right, guys. That all down. Let's get over to your questions here. Chris, what are we starting off with first?
From Dwayne Cinema, seeing Godzilla -1 and Silent Night tomorrow. Very excited. Hoping both are good and enjoyable.
Seeing Silent or -1 tonight. Very excited to watch Silent Night as well. I mean, I really like Joel Kinnaman, and I thought the trailer looked very fun, and I love the concept of it, so I can't wait to see both of these. Hope you have a good time. All right, what's next?
From Huey's TV or Haas TV, is it possible that John Majors has contract clause stating that only he can portray Kang variants in the MCU, and that's why he hasn't been recast yet?
No studio would ever let that be in their contract.
What amazing agent manager did
a
that?
clause in this contract that handcuffs us for what we can do with our own character?
Ooh.
Yeah, let's sign that. No, they're absolutely 100% that is not in their contract. All right, what's next?
From AL, John, there's so many movies coming out. Godzilla, Dream Scenario, Boy and Heron, Wonka, and Aquaman 2.
And more
is
than
it
that.
too much to watch all of these in 1 month? No.
No, I mean, listen.
No, get A-list.
Every December is like this. Like maybe during the pandemic, it got a little bit more thin, but I mean, really, Christmas season is the bigger box office wise than the summer movie season. Christmas Day. I was shocked because in Canada, we don't go to see movies on Christmas Day, but I was shocked when I moved to the States and found out Christmas Day is the single biggest box office day of the year. I never knew that. So anyway, lots of movies line up to come out this time of year. So no, it's not too many. And I'm really looking forward to a lot of those. Like, especially like Wonka. I think Wonka is going to be great. I don't know it's going to be great, but I'm thinking it's going to be, you got the director of the Paddington. You got the director of the Paddington movies. Come on, convince me this isn't going to be great. Until I see it and it proves me otherwise, I 100% believe this is going to be awesome. All right, what's next?
From Zach Milne Talks Movies, one thing I miss in MCU are the Stan Lee cameos.
I mean, I think we all do. I mean, look, let's not pretend like they were important and vital to the movies. But whenever the Stan Lee cameo would happen, it would always put a smile on our face. I still contend to this day that the greatest Stan Lee cameo did not happen in an MCU movie, though. It happened in Deadpool. When, as a strip club GJ, Stan Lee said, "Remember, gentlemen, money can't buy you love, but what it can buy you? But it can rent it for $20 a song." I think that was the line. Money can't buy you love, but it can rent it for you for $20 a song or something like that. Greatest Stan Lee cameo ever. He was born for that role. All right, what's next?
From Kevin Fraser, Ray, John, you guys aren't ready for Godzilla -1. The action fused with story around grief, shame, and love places this comfortably in my top 5 of 2023.
Wow.
Please let us know your thoughts when you see it.
Yeah, that 98%, that disappointing 98%.
We'll find them. We'll find them. Don't
Ray
worry,
was so excited to load up the Rotten Tomatoes to see 100% again, all the way down to 98. I think that places it a little bit higher than the Marvels, though.
Yeah.
They're probably just a little bit higher than that. No, listen, Ray has gotten me excited for this. I think Ray's enthusiasm has rubbed off on me. I am now I'm kind of excited to go see this tonight. And we'll definitely keep your eyes open on the channel. We'll definitely do an out of theater reaction when we come out of seeing it tonight. All right, what's next?
From the Robo Producer, John, think Loki will appear in the Kang Dynasty?
I honestly don't. I think he'll be back, but like just recently he was on, I think it was on Kimmel, and Tom Hiddleston said, that's a wrap for me as Loki. I'm done. Now I believe he believes that, but I also believe that at some point they will bring him back. But I think he would already know if they were planning on bringing him back for either Avengers 5 or 6. So I think he'll be back, but my guess, and it's just a guess, my guess is we won't see him in Avengers 5 and 6. All right, what's next?
From Dildar the Glorious,
Back to Gloria.
it was crazy of how much damage Chapek did in just a couple years, especially in the animation department. His treatment of Pixar is inexcusable.
What was that one thing he basically did? I'm paraphrasing here, but I think I'm catching the basic spirit of it. At one point, he even made this statement that basically animation doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I still remember when all of us were like, what did he just say? And I'm forgetting the exact wording of what he said. I don't want to misrepresent him, but basically the message of what he said was, yeah, nobody cares about animation. No, animation isn't important. Doesn't matter. It's like, you do know you're running Disney, right?
Which was strictly an animation studio for a long period.
The full quote was, when adults put their kids to bed at night after watching an animated film, they're probably not going to tune into another animated movie. They want something for them.
So you got to do both.
because
That is
mediums.
one of the
Yeah.
dumbest things
You put on a
the
manual.
CEO of Disney
Yeah.
can possibly say.
Maybe that's why the beard grew. It was like Pinocchio. Every time he said something,
Every time he'd say some bullshit, his beard would grow out or
Man.
something like that.
I need to start
like-
saying stupid.
And then it was like, oh, this is the guy who decided to take all the Pixar stuff and just dump it on Disney Plus. I mean, what a oh God. And thank
But
God
don't
that
say anything about his beard, though.
The-
That is
hey,
a
listen,
sweet
always
ass beard,
give
bro.
credit where credit is due. That man could rock a beard.
His
like a new
taste,
person.
garbage. His
I think a
beard,
totally
fabulous.
new guy. All right, what's next?
From Aiden Foley, was nothing announced for the Disney Town Hall?
No, I mean, again, remember, and we did caution before they did. I said, look, remember, this is not a fan event, so don't expect new trailers, whatever. What I did kind of expect, though, was for the shareholders, they would kind of, say some things to reestablish confidence in what they're doing. I thought there was a possibility they would come out and kind of give a more definitive, solid, here's the timeline of what's happening with our Marvel films and whatever, especially since they had the head of the movie division and the head of the television division being there too. I didn't expect any significant announcements, just maybe reaffirming, here's what the lineup is. But again, it wasn't a fan event. It was primarily for Disney employees and Disney shareholders. And we really didn't get anything significant out of that. And I suppose we shouldn't be totally surprised by that either. All right, what's next?
From Daniel Friend Music, with The Authority getting a big screen DC debut, I'm hoping the series Planetary may get an adaptation too. Have any of you ever read the series?
I am not familiar with it at
I'm
all.
not familiar with Planetary at all. Let me check this out.
All I think about is some Beastie Boys song when I hear the word planetary. But
Intergalactic.
planetary intergalactic.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
From Murray Reich, imagine the moment when the Godzilla -1 opens up. Instead of it being the film, it's the 1998 US version. Ray would flip.
Oh! Why?
Why would you do
why would
that?
you
Write
do that?
in. That fantasy is not a nice.
Isn't that the one where there's all the little Godzilla eggs they find in the sewers or
is
something like
that
that?
the one with the Matthew-
And that's what
Matthew
turns into the
Broderick.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I'm telling you,
Those
How
that,
dare you? How
that
dare you?
soundtrack was really good, though.
Oh, actually, it was.
It had
That
Rage
was-
Against the Machine, P. Diddy, if I have to say it.
All right, what's next?
From Robert, Deadpool 3, the better trilogy, can't snipe this.
Ooh, Deadpool 3, the better trilogy. That's not bad either. I like that one. Deadpool Threesome is also pretty good. What were some of the other ones too?
Deadpool 3 Dances with Wolves.
Deadpool 3 Dance. I like that one too. There's a lot of good ones there. All right, what's next?
From Jose, we're getting a parody of Portal. We're getting a parody of Portal in Deadpool 3. We're getting something of Portal in Deadpool 3.
Are we talking about the game Portal?
Parody of Portal.
And you will get cake. I love
Oh
that
my
first Portal
gosh,
game. I
yes.
spent a lot of time playing that first. Is that what you're talking about? Oh, well, maybe.
I love
Maybe someone
Gladys.
can explain.
All right, what's
Congratulations,
next?
you killed your faithful companion cube faster than anyone. Perfect image. Kane, Molecule Man, then Secret Wars, then Kang, Molecule Man, then Secret Wars, then Doctor Doom.
Maybe. I mean, again, there's a big belief out there that they're going to fast track Doom. I'm not 100% bought into that theory yet, but that seems to be the prevailing thought. We'll see what they do. All right, what's next?
From Renato, sending in a $12 super chat. Thank you so much. Watching the documentary on Max about the Harry Potter stuntman who broke his neck on set and was left partially paralyzed.
Oh, wow.
Incredible story. We as movie fans should give more appreciation to stuntmen.
Is that the one where I thought I read a headline recently that the actor who plays Harry,
Daniel Radcliffe.
like actually paid his medical bills or something, if I'm remembering it right. I didn't know there was a documentary about it, though.
And it's on Max. The documentaries that have affected me like that, I don't know if you could say traumatized by or that are still embedded, are all the ones that are on Max. So it must be a really good documentary. Like, they know how to do those.
David Holmes, The Boy Who Lived. Oh, what a title. Oh,
That's
my gosh.
the name of the documentary?
Yeah.
That's actually a perfect title.
Also, was it like a young stunt?
Yeah, well, yeah, he was a stunt
was-
stunt double.
He was the stunt double for Daniel. And at age 25 is when he was paralyzed, unfortunately. It's such a dangerous job. It's
Yeah, it is.
so dangerous. Oh, my gosh.
All right. You know what? It's actually, when we hear stories like that, it stands out to me about how surprising it is that we don't hear more like it. Like when you consider the types of things stunt people do, the fact that we only hear about one of these every couple of years is actually kind of remarkable. But this is always sad to hear. All right, what's next?
From Christopher Brinkner, Takang or not Takang? That is the question.
It is the pure
Whether 'tis
classical
noble.
Shakespearean dilemma that they're facing. All right, what's next?
From Guzman, I can't wait for the Ray +1 review of -1. By the way, I watched it last night and loved it. Goria is brutal. The human drama is super emotional and compelling.
Yes.
There is. Let me confess something. There's an element. Part of the reason why I said that, Ray has gotten me excited about this, is because don't throw anything at me, but Godzilla movies kind of strike me a lot like zombie movies.
Give me something to throw. Give me something to throw.
It's all the same.
We all the same.
We all the same.
Come on, we all the same.
We're the same.
We're all the same.
Under certain circumstances.
At some point,
Under
you're going
all
to
of
hear,
them, right?
and people are going to go, it's Godzilla. And this giant monster will come out of the sea and start smashing through the city. And different people will say different words. And then at some point, Godzilla will turn around and go back into the sea.
All of this, though, for $15 million budget.
Well, I don't know if that's good or bad. I haven't seen it yet.
I know, but from what we've seen...
What if it's like 10 minutes of Godzilla?
I hear there's a lot of cutaways.
Well, we're going to have the earliest out-of-theater review.
Yeah, we are going to have a pretty... walk out of that theater
30
pretty
minutes
quick.
in.
All right, what's next?
From Dr. Stinky, John, how do you grow such a beautiful stash? Love it.
I'm assuming it's me.
It certainly isn't me.
Hair just kind of comes out.
He's like, you could see that stuff?
I really focus and I force it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. An interesting thing about me that some of you may not know. As an Italian, you would think that body hair would come easily and in great quantity for me. It does not. I remember back in the AMC days, I would participate in No Shave November. And like November 30th would come along and people would be like, John, did you just start yesterday? No, I grow the facial hair of a 4-year-old baby girl.
Aww.
And when I do grow something, it comes in stubbles here and a little bit of hair here, no hair here. So I could never do a goatee.
So just more Italian Nona style.
Yeah, more like a nonna. I just,
That's what my
I cannot
future's
grow
going to
facial
be.
hair.
I got all the bad Italian genes of like, you're going to have
Manscaped is
dark
wasted
hair.
on you.
Oh my God. Yeah, no hair. All right, what's next?
From King Tut, wouldn't it be smarter to do Avengers versus X-Men before Secret Wars? Building up the X-Men more, these characters are familiar with each other during Secret Wars.
I don't think there's any purpose to do Avengers versus X-Men at all. What's the narrative pros of doing Avengers versus X-Men?
Well, they fight.
You see, they fight. Yeah. They've already had their Civil War movie. Honestly, I don't feel any need for Avengers versus X-Men. I just don't. I'm just looking forward to seeing these characters brought to life again in a new iteration. I'm not so excited that they're going to be part of the MCU. I wish they were keeping them in their own separate universe. But I just want to see these new iterations of these characters, see what kind of stories they're going to tell. But I don't feel like we need the gimmick of Avengers versus X-Men, at least not in the next 15 years. All right, what's next?
From Irene Jobson, happy holidays, everyone. XOXOXO.
Thank you so much, Irene. Appreciate that.
I'm back.
All right, what's next?
From Red One Real Talk, love the Pixarified edit of the crew, but I have to ask, no Canadian flag pee-pad for John? Laugh my ass off.
Yeah, listen, I didn't do it. They just sent it in as is. So it is. All right, what's next?
From Diddy Bop, hello, everyone. I know there's a difference, but why doesn't the MCU look to great comic writers like Kirkman and others to write movie scripts for Avengers and others?
Because you might as well go and hire a sandwich artist from Subway.
Wow. Just kidding.
They're two completely different things.
They are.
Just because, I mean, listen, even
Both artists.
J.K. Rowling proved that just because you're a great novel writer doesn't mean you know how to write a screenplay. They are two completely different things. So just going out and grabbing a comic book writer is, again, you might as well be hiring somebody who works at McDonald's. It's a completely different job. It's a completely different function. It's a completely different form. There's really not much similar about it, other than they both involve words. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, what's next?
From Andy, one of two. To reiterate Chris's point, those actors on Riverdale are genuinely talented. considering the lines that they have to deliver with a straight face. If I were the actors, I'd always wondered if this was actually a network TV series or a porn parody, like how Betty watched Archie from the corner.
I mean, again, I only ever saw the first season of Riverdale, which I thought was surprisingly good. It was a really neat take on the classic comic strip, but these kids living in a modern era where it's a murder mystery that's rocked the town, and it's kind of dramatic. Of course, it's got a CW-ishness to it. Of course it does. But it was actually oddly really good. Then to find out a couple of years later when they're like, why is there a D&D cult? Why is she casting spells? Why are they all having sex in a hot tub? Why is there portals open? Like, it just became something completely different.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I have to defend my Subway tuna sandwich, non-tuna sandwich.
I am not disparaging the fine sandwich artists who work at Subway. I love Subway.
Did you know Margot Robbie was a Subway cashier?
I did not know that.
That's the first thing I looked up. I looked up Subway employee turned Hollywood star just to see if anybody worked.
I am in no way disparaging the fine work of the artists who make my sandwiches at Subway.
But see, they produced Margot Robbie right there.
I was just illustrating that it's a totally different thing than writing a screenplay. That's all I was doing.
It's a fun fact everyone should know.
All right, what's next?
From Andy, Reggie may have missed out on that foursome relationship, but he got to marry Julianne Moore and win Best Supporting Actor. He won big in life.
He's got a future. By the way, good looking kid. He popped up in that secret bunker. What was the one with Walker
with
Scoble?
Owen Wilson and
the secret hideout,
Walker
secret
Scoble.
headquarters. Yeah, with Owen Wilson.
Secret headquarters.
Secret headquarters.
I was so mad that he was only in it for such a short amount of time, too.
Yeah, I thought he was
really
going to play a
enjoy
bigger
him.
role.
Yeah.
It's just as well. It's a terrible movie.
It's not great.
It's not great.
But I like him.
All right, what's next?
From Seconds from Disaster, did you see Snyder made an official statement putting the Snyderverse to rest? He doesn't want to return for it. Maybe people can stop crying now. Maybe some of you can stop commenting on any photo I post of like my dog about the Snyderverse.
Yeah.
It's so weird to me. Where I'm
Listen,
like, oh,
it-
why
The
are you so mad?
Snyderverse.
This is a photo of Gimli.
Look, some of the stupidest stuff. Like, listen, Snyder has made many comments that has made it pretty clear that's all done. But the circumstances should have made it very clear to everybody. Just even the point when there's like, Netflix can buy the Snyderverse films. Like, that's not how it works. You can't do that. But listen, he could literally stand on a stage. Zac Snyder could stand on a stage and with a ritualistic knife carve in his own flesh, I'm not doing any more DC films. There will still be people that think it's going to happen and think there's a chance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
Because they'll be like he wrote DC on his chest.
Yeah, see? He said DC.
It's
Now
hidden.
DC is
You have to
permanently
cross your
a part
eyes like a
of him.
magic eye.
Yeah.
But didn't you agree? Was it you or Rob that said after we watched the Snyder Cut, that's when I actually felt like, oh, I want to see this final fight between Darkseid and the Justice.
I think everybody.
I was jonesing for that.
I
But
think
he's moved
everybody
on.
would like to see that fight, but you don't make another movie just to have a scene. Like, nobody cared at that
Killers
point.
of the
Yeah.
Rebel Moon, baby.
All right, what's next?
From Chino, when should we have the Deadpool 3 trailer?
Well, they moved it to what, June or July?
Yep, they switched it up.
Yeah. So
June.
July, I honestly wouldn't expect the first trailer till April, maybe April or May.
Let me see. Hold on.
They might drop some kind of teaser a little bit earlier than that, but I wouldn't expect one till at least
July.
April. That's because it's June or July.
July 26th.
Yeah, April. I'd say maybe sometime in April we'll get it.
My birthday.
All right, what's next?
From Max Finkel, Campea Awards category, most underappreciated film for the year.
I'll probably definitely do that. By the way, somebody in the live chat, T Movies, just brought up a great point. I mentioned that I think maybe we'll get a first Deadpool 3 thing in April. Somebody, T Movies just reminded me. You know what else happens in April? CinemaCon. I will fully expect,
Oh no! Here we go.
fully expect we are going to get,
Bomb.
no. That was for Star Wars Celebration.
Right.
CinemaCon always delivers.
Yeah, they do.
And I'll go one step further. I think they're going to show us like the first half hour of the movie. I think though, I'm going to guess at CinemaCon this year, because what has Disney done in the last previous years? They showed us like the first 30 minutes of Lightyear. Then they showed us the first 30 minutes of Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness.
Little Mermaid.
They
showed us a number from Little Mermaid.
They showed us the full song, but I think Deadpool's the only movie Marvel's got coming out that year. I think they're going to, hell, they might show us the whole movie.
Oh no. The prediction.
But there's a chance the movie might not be done. But at minimum, I bet they're going to show us like the first 30 minutes, first act of it.
They did show us Boogeyman.
Oh, that's right. I like, they didn't show us
movie.
Boogeyman. I skipped out on Boogeyman.
I was so mad at you.
I skipped out
I
on that one.
was so
tell.
furious where I
She
was like,
still
I'm
is.
going to stay because you guys gave me so much shit about staying for you two, you people watching. You all were like, Chris isn't going to stay for the scary movie. And I did. And it was the worst thing.
It wasn't that
even
bad though. Huh?
scary.
I can't,
that,
but you
yeah.
didn't come to Black Phone, did you?
No.
No.
Oh, Black Phone was,
Yeah, we should watch it
that
again.
was good. That was
That movie
really good.
messed up Erin, though. I'm really glad I
Oh,
didn't see that.
she was traumatized.
Yeah.
But did you hear that they just announced that they're going to do a Black Phone 2?
Electric Boogaloo.
And
wanted to say it.
that handsome hawk is going to come back, which if you saw the first Black Phone, you might be asking, how? But anyway, apparently that's coming. All right, let's move over to our YouTube channel member questions. What do we got up here?
From Imperial Executioner. Hey, crew. Ridley Scott is known for finishing his shoots early and under budget.
Yep.
Do you think his pursuit of efficiency, while an important function of directing, is impacting the finished work? 86 years old today and still going strong, though.
I don't think that's impacting his work. I think, look, he runs a very, very efficient, well-oiled set, and he gets through his movies quickly. Like I said, like Napoleon, he shot that whole thing in 63 days. Not that that's unheard of, but a movie of that scale and scope, you'd think at least 90 days or something like that, but 63 days. But honestly, I don't think that's affecting his work. Look, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Ridley Scott's place in history and his legacy are 100% already set in stone, right? They cannot be affected. He's going to go down as one of the greats. That being said, the past 10 years, I think he's made one great film, and that was The Martian.
Best film. Man.
Everything else has either been okay or pretty good or bad. And
Would you say it's time for him to pack it up if Gladiator, the sequel to Gladiator, is a failure? Is it time?
well, I mean, a lot of people would argue at 86.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, do what, you know what though? If he has earned the right to make movies as long as he wants.
true.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's that. But if there's other things he wants to do in life and he feels like he should keep working, dude, screw it. You've paid your debt. You have already given the film community some of the great films of all time. Go off and do whatever you want to do. Go get massages in Thailand. Go bet the horses in Monte Carlo. Go do whatever it is you want to do and relax. But if he wants to keep making movies, that's his prerogative. He's earned
Gave
it.
me my favorite movie of all time. That's for sure.
The Martian?
Yeah, The Martian.
That's your favorite movie of all time.
all time, yeah.
I do love that movie, man. It's so good. All right, what's next?
From Amin. Bought a Disney 100 Lego film camera for Black Friday.
Oh, nice.
Don't know if you've seen it, but it's so cool. So much detail. Highly recommend. Pull up a pic, Ray. LOL.
Which one is it? What's
The
It's
Lego film camera?
Yeah, it's like the old timey film camera.
No, that thing is completely awesome. Actually, I showed it to you when you were walking by that one day when I wasn't working.
Oh, I probably, when I wasn't working. Listen,
It was just a second.
you know me, fuck Disneyland. I'm not going back to that place. But right
Does not
outside of
reflect the rest of
Disneyland
us.
is downtown Disney, right? Free place, lot of shops, and they have the greatest Lego store with often outside this giant 5,000 or 500,000 piece giant Lego dinosaur. And
Yeah.
like they've got all the cool shit in there. I like looking in that place.
I can't go into that store without leaving without one of the keychains because they always have a cool one hanging up, and I have to wait in that crappy line behind all those kids. I'm like, let me get that keychain already. The hot dog man.
All right, what's next?
From Kayak. I admit I had my doubts when you made the transition from a YouTube show to an audio-only podcast. Fast forward a few months, and guess what? Wrapped 2023 on Spotify tells me I'm in the top 5% of your listeners. Oh, wow. Thank you for keeping me informed and entertained as I drive to places.
Yeah, I mean, listen, obviously we've gone back. We explained to our audience, YouTube told me, my representative told me that they were making some big changes to the way live is going to be handled and all that. And we're trying this. But when we put more of our emphasis on the audio podcast, like seriously, the growth of our audio podcast was stunning. So thank you to everybody who subscribed to our audio. And if you haven't yet, make sure you go and subscribe to our audio podcast, because you're not going to be able to be in front of the YouTube video every single day. Go and make sure you subscribe to podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so you can listen to it when you're on the road, at the gym, taking a walk, whatever. It's always good to have it there. So thank you for that. I appreciate that, man. All right, what's next?
From Red One Real Talk, you spoke previously about studios pulling ads from Twitter, X, and with Elon's latest comments, do you think studios will double down on moving away from marketing on that platform?
Well, they can't double it.
You can't double down when you pull all your ads.
Yeah.
There's
No,
not
we're
much
really
more
not.
you
Zero
can
is still
do.
zero.
I don't know. I mean, so basically, I saw today an article where the CEO of X is trying to trying to do damage control and the stuff that Elon Musk has been saying. I don't see them buying advertising on there again anytime soon. I mean, look, everything moves in cycles, right?
Right. Yep.
Like, so if Eric
Trends
Bischoff
change.
can work at the WWE, then studios can come back to X someday. They can smooth things over and go back to it. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. And more advertisers are jumping ship, and they got to be careful. All right, what's next?
From Casinema, Bob Iger says the Marvels bombed because there wasn't enough supervision during its production. Ah, yes, because when I decide whether or not to see a movie, it's about whether its production had adequate executive supervision. Also, he says they're going to cut back on messages in movies, which sounds suspiciously like we're going to try to have less diversity on screen and behind the camera. And then this emoji.
Yeah, except the thing when he's talks about supervision, he's not wrong. It's specifically about creative supervision. Because remember, it used to be that the executives that used to run things, guys like Alan Horn, and stuff, and the power of a lot of these movies rested with somebody like Kevin Feige. And as much as everybody likes to pretend it's not the fact, the way that that Disney used to have Marvel run is what gave us the best Marvel movies. Everybody forgets that. It's the inconvenient truth whenever I mention, especially back in Marvel's glory days. You know what the number one studio interference studio is? Marvel. But look at what their results were. Their results were the longest streak of billion-dollar films, the highest critic ratings, the highest audience ratings. Their biggest levels of success came under that system. Under the new system that has been in effect for the last 3 years, it's been bankers and it's been whatever. And it's just been, just paint by numbers, go make that movie. No real oversight, no real meticulous examination, not being put under the magnifying glass by a lot of people. And again, everybody can say that method is going to stifle creativity. It's the method that got them to Endgame. It's the method that got them $11 billion films. It's the method that made them the most successful film franchise in history. And you can like it or not, but that's the fact. It is what it is. So when he says it didn't have supervision anymore, he's right, because people stopped caring because it wasn't being run by creatives anymore. And what has the result been? The result has been a lot of crap getting onto screens that 4 years ago never would have been allowed to get to the screen. So you can laugh all you want at what he said, but the inconvenient truth is he's right. Because that is what has worked for them. That's what made them the most successful game in town. And they damn well better get back to it, because the way they're going now, it ain't going to be long before we're talking about the MCU in the same way we've been talking about the DCEU for the last couple of years. And it's just the reality. All right, what's next?
From Dildar, the Glorious. Saw Godzilla -1 last night. It was incredible. It was harrowing, gut-wrenching, and brings the fear back into Godzilla. It'll easily go down as one of the best Godzilla movies, probably the best since the original.
My question is, why didn't we have tickets for it last night, Ray? You're the one who got us our -1 tickets. Why do we have
that was
tickets?
the earliest showing that they had available.
Oh, did they have another showing last night around us?
Oh, I don't think so.
It's
Okay.
been a very limited release. Because
that
my
would make
Regal
more
had
sense.
it, and I thought about going, but it wasn't until 8:30, and I went, I'm going to get ready for bed.
All right,
go
last question of the day. What's next?
From Blackadder. Do you think Gunn will actively create DC Elseworlds movies, or at least support developing them? I certainly hope so.
I think it would be very difficult for anybody in James Gunn's position to see the ridiculous levels of success that their two Elseworld projects have accomplished in Joker and Matt Reeves' Batman. it would be very, very difficult to look at that and say, let's not do those anymore. Best picture nomination, and let's not do those anymore. Best actor win, and let's not do that anymore. Over 700 million box office on one, over $1 billion on another, nah, let's not do that anymore. And listen, James Gunn in the past has talked about how a lot of the Elseworld stories and comics were some of his favorite comic books, where they're talking about, Red Sun or a number of other things by Gaslight, whatever. I think he will continue to encourage it. He'll focus on the DCU, but I think they'll continue to encourage, but not too many. Don't have like 6 or 7 of them going at once.
We had a question yesterday about Dave Bautista, right? We were trying to figure how does this sound? Because I'm excited for what James Gunn is going to do with the character of Swamp Thing, starring Dave Bautista.
Well, that of course will be James Mangold's decision.
Oh, right, okay.
Right, so I don't think
he was directing that. Okay,
but Dave Bautista as Swamp Thing. Okay, now you've got that in my head.
because it's just
That's not so crazy. I could maybe see that. Okay, I'd be down for that.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a role Dave Bautista would want, but
come on, he's already in green with Drax. Let's just
I know a little bit more though.
Just add more to him.
You're probably talking about a CGI character though.
Did I tell you who I thought Swamp Thing, the original series, who I thought the actor was the whole time I watched it when I was young?
No.
Hulk Hogan. Because he had the veins that went like this, like
Wait,
looked like a
when you were
hand.
young, this show was just out.
Yeah, but I always that's Hulk Hogan. Like in my stupid little head.
I want to go back to you thinking when Swamp Thing came out, you were young. How long ago do you think Swamp Thing was?
No, that was in like the 80s, right? The TV series?
Oh, I think that was the one that got canceled
No,
after the
the
first
TV
episode.
series, the one on the-
Back when I was young.
No,
on
the
Tuesday.
TV series. The TV series like in the 80s or 90s.
I don't remember the 80s. There was a TV series in
Yeah,
the 80s?
you didn't know there was either a movie or a TV series.
I had no
I
idea.
swear to God. Was I just
Right now,
dreaming
Chris
my
and
whole-
Jonathan are
Yeah, we're
are
both.
really searching the internet. I
There
have
was a
no recollection
1990s
of a
TV series.
1990s,
Yeah, there was
you go.
this right here.
See, and I
Let's
always thought
see,
this
what do
guy
we
was
got?
Hulk Hogan.
I remember that.
I always thought Hulk Hogan.
I don't
Hey,
remember
brother,
that.
Get in
Yeah,
my
because see,
swamp.
like where
remember
the
that.
roots are on his upper lip.
You thought that was
It
Hulk
always
Hogan?
reminded me of Hulk Hogan, so I called him Hulk Hogan when I was young.
Probably would have been the best acting of his career.
Yeah. See? So you never saw the 90s Swamp
I
Thing?
have no
So your
recollection
first
of
exposure
this.
to Swamp Thing on the screen was the newest one? Which I actually really
This
liked.
one was actually from the 80s. This is from like 82.
You know what Swamp Thing looks like? He looks like he's made some bad sexual decisions.
Oh boy, again.
That's what he-
Why is everyone in the superhero universe making those decisions?
What the hell is that? Was that like one of the bad guys in the Swamp Thing show?
That's after the decision's made.
Swamp Mom.
That's bad. More bad decisions
Oh
made.
my gosh.
All right, guys. And with that down, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making this little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions in the live super chats, our YouTube channel members. Number one, because you gave us interesting things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel as you did it. And all of us involved, thank you guys so much for your support. Don't forget, a little bit later this afternoon at about 3:30 p.m., I'm going to be doing an open mic. So if you guys want to talk more a little bit later, come on back in a couple of hours and join me then. Also, keep your eyes open on the channel later tonight as Ray and I will be doing our Out of the Theater reactions to Godzilla -1. So for everybody in the room, Ray Aura,
Squirt, squirt!
and what? Jonathan Voico.
Yeah.
Writer, I almost said writer, director, producer. That was voice. What I did want to say was voice instructor. If you guys want to get some instruction on how to do voices in animation or other sorts of things, you can go to Speak Friends Studios. Chris, where can people find that and get more information
Go
online?
to speakfriendstudio.com or find us on Instagram.
And of course, you guys can follow me on Instagram or on Threads right there, just simply at John Campea. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends, I ain't saying squirt, squirt. Bye-bye.
No, he just did.